Okay. That was not helpful. Hey, Roger.
Hey Jay,
How's it going?
good. How are you?
Good, good. We got you in there.
All right, thank you so much.
No worries. There's just a few other people that we're kind of playing around with, trying to get them in. So just bear with us for a minute here.
All right, that's fine. Thank you.
Oh, right on. Hey, Joe.
Hi, Jay.
Hey, Lily. How's it going? Okay. I think uh, I think we're basically there, guys. Maybe one person just struggling with the sound, but anyways, I think we're this is all the people that are going to be attending today. I haven't heard from anyone else in terms of struggling. So, hey, Lily, are you? Is that
Hey,
you?
Jay, yeah, yeah, I can see
Hey,
you. Yeah.
awesome, great. Okay, I think we're basically set here. So I'm glad we finally got connected, guys. It's always a little bit of a game getting connected, but I think there's two things that this re-jogged my memory that make it easier, and one is Gmail addresses tend to be better, so I'll try to I'll try. Who do we just add? I'll do my best to uh, use your Gmail addresses for future ones. And the second thing is, I think the link is helpful too, which I just sent out at the end. So I'll make sure to include that next time. For whatever reason, it's just different things seem to work differently for different people when they connect. So in any case, we'll know for next time. So I want to jump right into things. Did anyone get the materials I sent out earlier today?
Yep,
Yep.
I got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just give you a no, yell out no if you didn't hear, if you didn't get it. But anyways, just sort of administratively, I guess first thing to know is, normally the way I kind of set this up is I have, the Google Hangout in one half of my screen and the PowerPoint in the other. I'm sure you guys can manage that, but in any case, that's normally how I operate it. And just in terms of ensuring that the sound is working well. You guys can ask questions whenever you want, just to keep the recording going well and to make sure that the right person is on the main screen. I just ask that you keep yourself on mute when you're not talking, and it actually makes it really easy for me to know when someone wants to ask a question, because as soon as if you do want to ask a question, just take yourself off mute, and then I'll see the little microphone disappear, and I know that you're trying to talk. So with that said, I'll jump right into things and get going on our first session, which is covering networking. And before I actually get to that, though, there's just a few kind of administrative things that I want to tackle. So, going on to the slides, one of the first slides here we have is the team leaders. So I have, Josh and myself. I think you guys already know a little bit about me and Josh, so I'm not going to dig too much into it. It's going to be primarily me that's running the All-Star team. There's a handful of people that have some interest in sales and trading jobs as well, and they might run into Josh when it comes to the technical mock interview section, but for the most part, it'll be me running it. This is, I've ran this last year. I think most of you know we had pretty good success. Some of the content, most of the content is frankly the same as last year. I think it went really smoothly last year. And there's new updates that I made just to reflect changes that have happened in trends and stuff with regards to last year. Now on to the roster slide. Here I'll just give you guys a chance to kind of give a quick intro of yourselves, just for the benefit of the other members of the team, because I've met you all individually through Google Hangouts, but you guys don't necessarily know each other. So not every person is on the call today. But for those that are, why don't we just kind of run through the list in order here. So Yan's not on the line. Gianni, are you there? Okay, I think I was talking to Gianni, but he still might be struggling to join. So Ak, why don't I just turn it over to you and just a few sentences about where you're from and what's going on with you.
Okay, so hi everyone. My name is Ash Gades. I'm originally from Tunisia, and I moved to Canada 3 years ago. Kind of my objective, as I assume all of you, is the same thing: getting a full-time investment banking job. Currently, I'm doing an internship in Montreal in private equity at Magnum Capital Partners, and yeah, really excited about this opportunity. Full-time investment banking job. Currently, I'm doing an internship in Montreal in private equity.
Oh, hey guys, sorry.
Really excited about
Gianni, how's it going? I think thanks for joining. I'll turn it over to you. We're just doing quick intros of just a little bit about what school you're at and what you're all about. So turn it over to you.
Okay, good.
I think thanks for joining. I'll turn it over to you. We're just doing quick intros of just a little bit about what school you're at and what you're all about. So turn it over to you.
Okay, good.
Thanks for joining. I'll turn it over to you. We're just doing quick intros of just a little bit about what school you're at and what you're all about. So turn it over to you.
Okay, good.
Thanks for joining. I'll turn it over to you. We're just doing quick intros of Hey guys, I'm not sure. Yeah, there's a bit of an echo going on. Gianni, I don't know. Maybe you could turn. I think it's your computer. You could maybe turn the volume down a little bit. I think it's causing like a loop of me talking, and you guys have to hear me talk enough, so you don't need to hear me say the same thing over and over again. Yeah, that's better. So Gianni, can I turn it over to you just to do a quick intro now? We'll see if this works. Maybe a little struggle with the sound. So as long as she's still struggling, we can move forward. I'll go. Lily, why don't I turn it over to you to give an intro? I think you have sound still.
Yeah, sure. So hi guys, my name is Lily. I'm currently a third year at Roman Commerce. I moved to Toronto from China 3 years ago, and I'm currently an intern. I'm currently an analyst intern at a local asset management firm called AIP Asset Management, and I'm looking for a full-time in investment banking this summer. No, this coming fall. Sorry. Asset management
Right on. Thanks, Lily. So, Joe, why don't I turn it over to you?
for full-time in investment banking.
Hey, sorry, Gianni. Can you make sure to, when you're not talking, just put your account on mute, because that way that'll prevent an echo. So, Joe, are you able to take over?
Yep. Can you hear me? Yeah. So I'm from SFU, so I'm going to my final year. So like most of you guys, I'm also going to looking for full-time recruitment in the fall. I mean, in the fall for the summer. And currently I'm interning at I guess a local equity research firm, Catalyst. So yeah, I look forward to the upcoming workshops with everyone. Thanks.
Right on. So Almog's not here. Jonathan, I think, seems to be struggling. He keeps joining and rejoining. So Jonathan, are you there to give us a little intro? Maybe not. All right, Roger, let's hear from you.
All right, sure. Are you able to hear me now? Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go for it.
All right, cool. I'm Roger. I go to Ivy Business School in London, Ontario. Originally, I'm from BC. Right now, I am working for CIBC Capital Markets in their derivative risk group. And for full-time, I'm looking for a sales and trading position.
Awesome. And last but not least, Oliver, let's hear from you.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep, you're good. Go for it.
Okay. My name is Oliver, UBC student, econ and commerce student. And yeah, just like most of you guys, looking for a full-time investment banking position for next year. And for this summer, I'm a summer analyst at a small boutique investment bank here in Vancouver. And yeah, I look forward to kind of working with you guys.
Awesome. So thanks a lot, guys. That stuff's helpful, and it just makes things a little bit, smoother when you guys start to do the one-on-one sessions. It's nice to have at least seen the person once before. As new people that haven't done their intro join in future workshops, I'll get them to introduce themselves, but you guys will be safe from that as of now. I have the roster for the second team here as well. So, there's no difference between team 1 and team 2. There's no like one team is better than the other. I just split you up. Primarily, my objective was just to limit the number of students from the same school and the same team. So I did my best to separate people. I think that's ideal because you get to learn from each other. So you'll see in the Google sheet that I sent out, there's a little spot where if you want to, you can sign up for additional peer review stuff. So when we get to the mock interviews relating to fit stuff, fit questions and technical questions, you may want to do more than just the one workshop that's assigned. Hey guys, can you just, if you're just checking me out and you don't want to ask a question, can you just put your account on mute? That way it keeps the camera on me while I'm talking. That's be really helpful. Thanks, guys. So yeah, like I said, in the future you can just sign yourself up in that tab of the Google Sheet and put your name there if you do want to do more than one. I just encourage people to reach out if you want to do that to people on either team. Doesn't matter which team you're on, and you might as well interact with more people if you have the opportunity to. So in terms of administrative items, so just a few things that I want to go through because this is the first session. I did send a Google Doc, called the All-Star Team Full-Time 2016 Contact List and Peer Review, and that has all the contact information you guys need for each other. Hey, there's one person whose account is not on mute. Could you guys just all put your accounts on mute? It'd be really helpful because the screen keeps switching back and forth because of the sound. There's at the top, there's a menu button with a microphone. Yeah, okay. I think we got it here. Okay, so so that Google sheet basically has all the contact information you need for the other members of your team. So when you do the peer review stuff, it's there for you. It also has, like I said, the sign up sheet if you're looking to do more. I'm also going to have the links for all the videos afterwards. So if you want to watch the recording of this session and future sessions, they'll all be in that one document. So it's pretty much your go-to for all the information you need for the course. The only stuff that'll be separate from that will be some of the course materials, which I'll send via email each week. So going forward, the workshops for the Team 1 and Team 2 will be on different nights, with the objective being that if you can't attend one, you can attend the other. So always do your best to attend your actual team's night. But if you can't, just send me, or all you need to do is hit accept, because I'm going to send you invites to both anyways. So just accept the one that works for you. But like I said, if possible, try to stick to your team. It's just kind of nice to have the same group of people in the sessions each time. Let's see here. So going in the future workshops for number 2, 3, and 4, there's always going to be follow-up where you're interacting with one of the other team members and with myself or Josh. But today is the only exception to that. All the follow-up that you need to do is just on your own. So it's just your responsibility, and basically I'm going to give you a ton of things to do in terms of networking, but it's just on you to actually carry that out and get going on that. Oh yeah, and just in terms of the actual peer review stuff, my recommendation is you use Google Hangouts or Skype to do them. It just makes it a little bit more personable to do it with video, and I find it's just an overall better experience. And if you do want to do screen share or anything like that, using Google Hangout is a great tool. So moving on to slide 7 here. This is just the overview of the curriculum. So you guys have kind of seen this before in the way it was posted on the website, but just to be very definitive about it, here's the weeks that we're going to be covering each segment. So each of the 4 workshops, and I'll just note that it's kind of been set up so that the technical session should line up approximately with when people might be going through early recruitment. And it will definitely be done before September when people will be going through standard recruitment. After we finish the workshops, you'll still be working with us, because we'll basically be doing the mock interviews with you and helping you through the whole recruitment process, as I think I've talked with most of you about during the interview process. So on the next slide here. So now I have a couple of warnings just for you guys, to get you fired up for the rest of our time together. And my first warning is about resumes. So if you look at my first bullet there, I said, I kind of used a nice euphemism and said, some of you guys have a high degree of potential quotation marks in your resumes, meaning that there's room for improvement. I sent out a template that is also included in the IncuBanker to everyone today. Basically, if you haven't used the current version of your resume to actually land an interview in the capital markets before, I recommend you conform to the template that I distributed today. And at the very bottom, I just said, 1 page maximum and no exceptions ever. So all investment banking and sales and trading resumes for entry-level jobs have to be 1 page. So if you do have a multi-page resume, you can shrink it down, and again, you can use the template. Hey, Jonathan, how's it going?
Hey, but yeah, I'm back.
Okay, you're back.
Thanks.
Right. So we're just on slide 9. So the other warning I have is just in regards to technical questions. And all of you are at different levels. Some of you have done currently doing a summer internship in banking, so you've already done a lot of prep when it comes to technical stuff. Some of you haven't. If you know you need to do work before you'll be ready for technical questions, I recommend you not wait until our fourth workshop to get started. It does take a lot of work to prep for this stuff, and basically you can start digging into stuff in the IncuBanker, or using the Vault Guide, or even just Googling investment banking interview questions to really get started. Frankly, the IncuBanker, and this is a little bit self-promotional a bit, I guess, but I try to do it to cover the vast majority of questions that you're going to come up against. So it's a pretty decent place to start. And also, I'll mention that I'll be setting up you guys accounts probably tomorrow. So you guys will have access to that as of tomorrow throughout the entire program, basically. So I think that's it for admin stuff. Was any questions so far on just on that stuff, on what we're covering and sort of what the plan is and that sort of stuff, or everyone's good? Everyone's good. Okay, beauty. Okay, so now we'll dig into the actual networking stuff, okay? And the first slide here is just to talk a little bit about why this is actually important, okay? And basically, everyone that's on this team, for sure, could be selected for an interview. I wouldn't have brought you onto the team if I thought there was no chance of getting an interview, because that just wouldn't have been fun for everyone. Like, A, I wouldn't have gotten paid, and that's not fun. And B, it would have been disappointing for to have someone join the team who was basically a lost cause. So you guys have all got good grades. You've done your extracurriculars and all that kind of stuff. But so do a lot of other people, right? A lot of people have good-looking applications, and that's not necessarily enough to get you an interview. And there's not many things that you can do to change your odds of getting picked, but networking is one of the only things you can actually do. So, basically, if you can actually connect with the person who screens the resumes, or your resume, the pile of resumes that yours is going to be in, then you can actually have a big change in the odds of being selected. So, I just mentioned here, imagine there's 20 people that all look just like you, right, in terms of their resume. They have similar experience, they have similar grades, et cetera, et cetera. Think about the person reviewing those. If they've met 2 of those people, are they going to be more likely to pick the people that they've met? Well, if they liked them, definitely, right? So that's always a key thing, is that they actually like the person. But if you can see, basically what you're doing is you're giving them one extra data point. So instead of saying, oh yeah, this person has pretty good grades and pretty good experience, they also can say, oh, and I met the person and I like them. And that will be an advantage versus anyone that hasn't met them in person, okay? So the reason that all this stuff is important is because you only have a few ways to improve the odds, and networking is probably the most important one. So going on to the next slide here, slide 12. Here, this is investment banking specific. So, for Roger, who's interested in sales and trading, it'll be a little bit different. But in investment banking, the way things kind of are divided, especially for the big 6 banks, where the vast majority of the jobs are, is there's basically 2 key roles that you really need to know about. Okay, so there's a person called the staffer. And the staffer is an investment banker. Okay, that's their main job, is doing investment banking, and they're a mid-level person, so it's usually called a VP. At some banks, it's called associate director. And on top of their sort of day job of being an investment banker, they basically work as a manager responsible for all the analysts and associates. So they're responsible for hiring, for firing, running the performance reviews for analysts and associates. In a sense, it's like, think about a retail manager or the manager at McDonald's or something like that. They're just responsible for all the people under them. Now, like all good investment bankers, they try to delegate a lot of their work to the people that are under them. So the work of the staffer is actually the workload's quite heavy. So what they do is they basically outsource a lot of the work to what's typically called like a captain, school captain. And the school captain becomes responsible for doing all the hiring from a specific school. And it's not the full process of hiring, but basically they're responsible for meeting people for coffee, for screening resumes and for conducting first round interviews. So this is actually what I used to do at Scotia. I was the captain for Rotman, which meant that for anyone that applied from any Rotman program, or even I guess U of T if they were one of the odd students applying from outside of Rotman, but if they were applying from the Commerce program, they were applying from the MFin program or MFE program or the MBA program, all of their resumes went through me, and I picked who I wanted to interview for first round interviews. So when you're meeting with people and you're going out there and networking, these two individuals are the critical ones that you actually want to meet, because they can actually change the odds of you getting an interview. And if it's the team captain, it's pretty obvious. They're the ones that are screening your resume. So if they like you, when they see your resume, they're going to pick you to come back. And if it's the staffer, they won't be actually conducting the interviews themselves in the first round. But they may just, if they like you and you've met them, they may just go up to the captain and say, hey, make sure you interview this guy or this girl because I really like them. So just be aware of that. And I'm going to talk more about the actual process for connecting with these people on the next slide. But for now, those are the two key people. So on to slide 13. There's basically, there's a couple ways to get in touch with the school captain or staffer. And the first point I make here is, if you already know them, then you can reach out to them, and maybe you've had some previous experience going through the interview process for a different firm, or it could be friends and family or whatever. But obviously, if you know them, reach out to them directly. If you don't, there's a couple different approaches that you can take. First of all, maybe you know someone who's a second connection, right? So you don't know the staffer or you don't know the captain, but you have a friend who works at the firm who knows that person. If that's the case, then you always want to ask for a referral. Referrals are really, really powerful. If you know someone that can connect you, you're way more likely to have success in getting in touch with them if someone they know sort of is providing your name as someone they should meet. And this would happen with me at Scotia a lot. Someone would say, hey, Jay, can you meet this guy who's a friend of mine? He's really interested in getting into banking. And if it's a coworker, I'm for sure going to follow up. Where if it's someone reaching out to me randomly, it's not 100%. If you don't have, anyone that can connect you to that person, then all you need to do is find basically any analyst or associate that works at the firm. Okay, so if you're talking about finding the school captain or the staffer at, say, RBC, all you need to do is talk to an analyst or an associate, any analyst or associate at RBC. And what you want to do is, you're going to reach out to them. We're going to go through how to actually find these people and what to say to them. But you want to reach out to them, set up a meeting, learn about their background, try to benefit from the conversation and learn something from them, but also ask them who the staffer is or who's the one that's responsible for hiring for your school. Okay, and that's it. They're most likely they're just going to give you the name. If it's an analyst who's relatively new, they may not even know, but they can definitely find out for you. And it's not really that big of an ask, so most people are quite willing to provide that information from you. And then you just want to follow up, and then you're kind of using it like a referral almost. You're going to say, hey, Mr. Staffer or Mrs. Staffer or Mr. Captain or whatever, I just met with so-and-so, and he or she mentioned that you're responsible for hiring from SFU, or whatever the case may be. I'd love to have the chance to meet with you. And there you go. Then you're connected, and basically you're sitting across from the person that is going to be ultimately screening your resume, and that can be really, really powerful. And the sort of the last point I have on the slide here is the link using LinkedIn can be a really powerful way to actually find these people if you don't have an existing connection. And that's what the next section of the presentation is going to be, just actually using LinkedIn. Kind of been motoring through stuff. Any questions, guys, or everyone's good? Everyone's good. Okay, beauty.
I have a question here.
Oh, yeah, hey, how's it going?
Hey, good. So like when you're asking the whoever you're networking with, who the staffer is,
Yeah,
how do you phrase it so that it doesn't sound, like
it's awkward.
questioning or awkward? Yeah.
Yes. So normally what I suggest is that you aim for the captain, okay? And for you guys saying like, "Hey, who's the captain for the school?" It actually is. It sounds a little bit weird because you guys, for the most part, um, people in your shoes won't know that structure. So the way to do it is to say, just to ask who's the actual person responsible for hiring from my school. And that way, it's like a simple question. It's not too aggressive. It's not showing any weird insight that you've been kind of like cheating the system or you somehow have inside knowledge of how it works. But that's how I like to do it.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Cool. And Roger, for S&T, it's not always quite as defined as this. It has a very similar structure. It might not be exactly a captain. It might just be like someone who is reviewing a whole stack of resumes from different schools.
Right.
But that question will still work, right? You meet with anyone, you say, hey, who's responsible for hiring from my school? And they're going to give you an answer, and that's the person to talk to.
So would DCM and ECM be similar to banking or to S&T?
It's probably closer to banking.
All right.
And it may their terminology might be a little different, and it might not be like a full-on staffer. It might just be like a VP who has to do the hiring, and they may not have any captains at all. It might just be that one who runs it because they tend to be smaller groups.
I see. Thank you.
Okay. Cool. Everyone else good? Yeah. Okay. Right on. So now let's move on to the next section, which is using LinkedIn as a search tool. So I don't know how well versed you guys are in using LinkedIn, but this search tool is actually really powerful. And investment banking and sales and trading are actually great jobs to use the advanced search function of LinkedIn, just because everyone has the same title, right? Like in other industries, people's titles kind of differ, but in investment banking, every entry-level person is either called an associate, so it's really great to look up. So if you go to slide 16, this is the advanced search tool. So if you haven't used it before, I'm sure you guys have done an advanced Google search at some point in your life, and the same kind of idea applies here. You just get a couple more fields that you can use to narrow down your search, and there's a couple really critical areas that you want to focus on. So in terms of relationships, normally you don't want to use first connections because those are people you already know, so probably you don't need to find them. But what you do want to look for is whether any of your first connections know the people that you find, in which case you might be able to use them for a referral. But the most important ones are probably the school, okay, and the company, because basically you can, and the title, okay. So if you're let's say you're trying to find, let's say you don't know anyone at Scotia, so you're trying to find someone to talk to at Scotia. What I would recommend you do is you use the title of associate. You start by including your school, so it's always better to reach out to an alumni if there is one. So for some of you guys that are coming from schools that have tons of alumni on Bay Street, you should basically be doing this all the time. For some of you that are from smaller schools, you should try it first, and if you get a hit, that's great, and if you don't, then just expand it. And so search for associate, search for your school, search for the city that you're looking for. So a lot of you are looking for jobs in Toronto, but others are looking for jobs in other cities, and you can do it for more than one. But you can kind of see the power in this, right? If you're trying to find someone at Scotia Investment Banking Toronto to talk to, and preferably an associate. You can enter associate, you can enter Toronto, you can enter Scotiabank, you can enter which school they went to, and basically you're going to get a list of the exact people that you want to reach out to. Okay, and then you basically got your pool of people that you want to reach out to. And on the next slide, I dig into a little bit of how you actually want to reach out to them. Okay, because in theory, you're not supposed to use LinkedIn to do this, right? You're only supposed to use LinkedIn to add people you already know. But we're kind of we're pushing the boundaries a little bit, and because it's such a powerful tool, we're using it for our own sort of devices. So one thing that's really important is that when you send the invite, first of all, it gives you a couple options in terms of how you know the person. So make sure you pick friend. It's the only one that doesn't require you to enter any other information about them or about how you're connected to them. Sorry. Some people I think it's a little bit weird to reach out to someone they don't know and that they want to meet with and say friend, but trust me, the person that's receiving it gets those types of invitations all the time, so it's not weird. What you want to do is not use that little sample text that LinkedIn populates automatically. So you want to do something customized, and ideally, it depends on how much time you have, but ideally customize it to each person, or at least make it different from the standard text that LinkedIn uses and make it sound like it has some sort of connection to them. So in this one, this is a slide Josh actually built before, but basically he was saying, how would I reach out to Jay if I was trying to, if I was trying to reach out on LinkedIn? And so, if you go through the text here, basically all he's doing is he's pulling information from my LinkedIn profile to show that he reached out to me specifically, right? So you're very limited in the number of characters you can actually use here, so you might have to fiddle around. But when you're doing this, you want to accomplish a couple things, and I kind of go through them on the next page. So first of all, it starts the conversation, it gets the conversation going. It makes your intentions clear, and by that I mean in the text you'll see that it actually says that I want to meet with the person. So you should definitely include that in the little preamble when you're sending an invite to connect. And it's basically straightforward. And because you're asking to meet with them in this basically connection request, it's basically kind of creating the idea that if they accept you, they're basically accepting to meet, right? Because you don't know this person, they don't know you, and you're sending them an invite, and in that invite, you're saying, hey, I'm adding you, or I'm hoping that you'll add me, only because I want to talk to you. That's the only reason. We have no previous connection, and so if they're up for meeting you, they're going to hit accept, and if they're not, they're probably going to hit decline. So it's just a really effective way to be efficient and keep the conversation going with the people that are actually going to meet with you. So when they add you, at that point, you want to be very quick in getting back to them. And I always say, at the very most, you should reach out to them with a follow-up message within 24 hours. And ideally, you want to do it within an hour or even right away. Okay, and the reason is, maybe you pique their interest a little bit with this little blurb that you sent them, but they're going to forget, right? They have their bankers or traders or whatever. They have 10,000 things going on, and they're going to forget. So as soon as you've got their interest, you want to reach out to them with a follow-up as soon as they've got you in their mind. So again, capital markets guys don't think it's weird when people reply right away. So there's no oh, I'm going to appear too eager or anything like that. They just don't even think about that. So in the follow-up message, you've got you got more flexibility because there's no character limit. So you can add a little bit more detail. But the key the key points that you want to tackle in the follow-up message are, A, you want to remind them that you specifically reached out to them for the purpose of meeting. So I just want to follow up. As I mentioned previously, I'm hoping to meet with you to learn more about you, something to that effect. And you also want to make a really easy way for them to accept your meeting request. So you can even go and find out, a Starbucks is really close to their office. 4 out of the 5 banks are all Bay and King, so you can typically find something close by for everyone. You can find a coffee shop and then offer a few different blocks of time that you're available. And the reason you do this is because you want to make it as easy as possible for them to say yes. Okay, they're super busy, and having to go back and forth 3 times in emails to resolve is like a nightmare. So if you give them a bunch of options, it's super easy for them because all they have to do is say yes. You're the second. You said you're available Tuesday afternoon, and I can do that. So let's meet at 3 p.m. at the Starbucks you suggested, or something like that. Okay. So you can go through the text afterwards, but that's kind of the main points that you want to cover in that follow-up message. Just moving on a little bit in terms of other considerations with regards to networking generally. If you have gone through previous interviews, so if you interviewed for summer internships and maybe you got a first round or second round, but you didn't end up getting an offer, you have to go back to these guys. Okay, it's like a really important thing, and it's pretty painful. It's not really something that's fun to do to reach out to people that have said no to you before. But just because it's Canada, and obviously this won't apply for people that are applying for New York jobs or jobs outside of Canada. But you have to reach out to them and say, basically things have changed, right? You got to give them a reason to give you a second chance, because it's very easy for them to say, oh, I already interviewed this person and we said no, so we're not going to interview them again. So you got to get in touch with them, ideally meet with them, or maybe have a phone call, and you just want to give them some sort of story like, hey, I know things didn't go great before, but I really think things have changed because whatever. I learned a lot from the last round. I really gone crazy on preparing for technicals, and I'm ready to go now. But you need to do this. If you interviewed with 1 or 2 banks in Toronto, for instance, and they were big 6 banks, then you've already significantly reduced the number of chances that you have to get a job, because they're just all the jobs are concentrated so heavily amongst the big 6 banks in Canada. Another thing to remember is just there is a greater tendency towards early recruitment in Canada, and so early recruitment happens before the applications go in through your school, or in through the website. And the way they do this is they basically go through the program provided stacks of resumes, which includes everyone. So like, for example, if they did it for Ivy, they'd go through every single Ivy student's resume, including people that have no interest in investment banking, right? But they're trying to find people that they think are high quality candidates, and interview them, make them an offer, and get them to sign before the standard interviews actually start, okay? And what they typically do is they actually just do it for a few super core schools. So I put Ivy, McGill, and Queens. Typically they won't go far beyond that because they're trying to make their jobs easy too. So if you do go to one of the schools, that's great. At least you have a chance without you doing anything. If you don't, you basically have 0 chance of getting an early recruitment interview unless you take some sort of action on your own. And even if you do go to one of those schools, you should really take action anyways, because it's going to help you out a lot. And what I would say is, just as you're going through this process of trying to find the staffer or the captain at each bank, you should just be asking, do you guys do early recruitment, right? It's just like asking, who's responsible for hiring for my school. It's a simple question. It's not aggressive, and the answer is going to, basically you're subtly suggesting that you want to be involved in recruitment if possible, right? But that's what you want to do, and early recruitment is going to be taking place in August. So it's July now, so now is the time to start meeting people and asking these questions. Any questions, guys, before I move on to the next section? Everyone's good? Okay. All right. So this section here, I'm probably just going to leave to you guys to review afterwards, but it's just some tips on how to actually go through informational interviews. Okay, these things can be, some people are very natural at them, and for others it's a struggle. But the 6 keys I have here, I think, are really helpful in terms of avoiding some of the biggest mistakes that people make and coming across as a strong candidate. So I'll let you guys go through that after, and I'll just kind of wrap things up with my recommended action plan for you guys. Okay, so this is obviously on you, and I'm not going to be checking in on this. There's no sort of peer review. There's no review from me. This is all you and your responsibility. But I really think that this or some version of this can be really helpful for you guys to significantly increase the odds of you guys actually getting interviews. And the first slide is just saying, it's crunch time now. Like I said, early recruitment is going to be in August. Standard recruitment is going to be in early September. So you guys have a month and a half, 2 months to get yourself out there and meet people. And a lot of people won't do this, right? And in particular, if you're from out of town, like if you're in Vancouver and you're trying to work in Toronto, very few people from Vancouver will do that, and from your school. And it matters which school you're from, right? Because typically you're kind of measured against other students from your program. So if you're at Ivy or you're at Rotman or you're at Queens, a lot of people are doing this. So you need to do it just to keep up with with the Joneses, so to speak. But if you're at a smaller school, doing this can seriously differentiate yourself from the others and really have a dramatic impact on your odds of getting an interview. So here's my suggestions, right? For Canada, for each city that you want to apply to, so if you want to work in Toronto or Calgary or whatever, start tomorrow and go reach out to 2 associates from each of the big 6 banks. Okay, so you can use the tools that I mentioned on LinkedIn to accomplish this, but just sort of get out there and use LinkedIn and start basically by Friday, research into the bulge bracket banks that are in each city. So this is like big U.S. banks that have small offices in the city that you're interested in, and try to reach out to 1 or 2 people from each of those firms. And with those guys, you can be a little bit more flexible in terms of who you actually reach out to. So it doesn't necessarily need to be an associate, but it can be an analyst, could be an associate, a VP, and that applies to boutique banks as well. And it's just because they're a little bit more less structured in terms of the captain versus staffer and who's responsible. And it could be a team of 5 people, so it might just be one person, a VP who's responsible for doing all the hiring. Early next week, try to reach out to 2 more people for all the firms that haven't gotten back to you. So if you haven't heard back from someone at RBC, send 2 more invitations to people on LinkedIn. And basically, the whole point is you just keep on pushing and keep on pushing until you have a connection at all of the big 6 banks, and hopefully, a bunch of boutiques and bulge bracket banks as well. And just like I've mentioned before, try to reply as quickly as possible, and follow up, right? As soon as you hear back from people, or as soon as you get accepted on LinkedIn, you want to be hitting them with those messages really quickly. For the U.S. and international jobs, so if you're interested in working in New York or London or San Francisco or wherever, similar kind of approach. But the main thing here is that you're probably going to have to cold call, and I recommend putting together a list of sort of 30 to 40 offices of different bulge, everything from bulge bracket banks to boutiques. Boutiques in the U.S. can still mean an absolutely gigantic firm. the LinkedIn game can happen at the same time, but just the can be much larger. So you can be reaching out to much more people at a time. You can be cold calling, on a regular basis, and that's really going to help you, force your way in and connect with someone. And it's also just great practice. In Canada, the stakes are pretty high because if you really irritate someone or someone doesn't like you at RBC, well, you just lost like a fifth of all the jobs that are going to be available, right? If you irritate someone at Morgan Stanley, New York, there's probably 50 other people at Morgan Stanley, New York that you can talk to. So the repercussions just aren't as great. But that's generally sort of my plan of attack for you guys, and that kind of wraps up the material for today. So I don't know if there was any questions you guys had on any of the content that we covered today.
I got a question.
Yeah, go for it.
I know you talked about mainly contacting them through LinkedIn. I was just wondering why this instead of say their work email, which I kind of what I've always done or what I've done before. Do you think it's better to go through LinkedIn?
So if you already know the person, you can use you can use their email for sure. The reason I push on LinkedIn is just because it's like a great equalizer, because no matter who you are or who you know, you can find someone on LinkedIn. But for sure, if you have any kind of prior connection with them, use email because it's more personal. That make sense?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah, go. Roger, did I answer your question?
Oh, sorry.
Okay, cool. So yeah, Gianni, we'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, I went to a lot of networking session before, so I keep some of not connections. So how can I just take advantage of these connections?
Okay. Well, that when you go to these networking events, it can be it's tough to convert those all the people you meet, but one of the things I think you can do is ask for their card. Okay, if they ask for your card, definitely give it to them, but always ask for their card. And what I would do is I would basically do exactly what we talked about in the LinkedIn section, but with the people that you meet at these networking events. So follow up, try to set up a meeting with them, and in that meeting, ask them, those simple questions. Do you guys do early recruiting? And who's responsible for hiring people from my school? And those are the most important things. A lot of people are concerned about sort of building lasting relationships with people. That can be good, but it's actually very difficult to do. And frankly, you guys have a month and a half, so you're not going to become their best friends in the next month and a half. But if you can find the right person to talk to that actually picks your resume, that's a huge win. So that's what I would do.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I have a few questions here. Oh, go ahead. I'll go after you.
He's giving it back to you, so you go for it, Roger.
All right, cool. So like, firstly, is it okay to use, for instance, I work for CIBC World Markets, and
Yep.
I don't know if it's appropriate to use that email when I reach out to them, or should I use my school email or personal email? Does it make a difference, or?
If you're doing an internship, right?
Yep.
So I don't think it matters. If you're on good terms with the people that you're working with at CIBC now, and they
Right.
know you're not coming back, then I think it's totally fine. It'd be a little bit
Okay.
of a different situation if it was unclear of whether you're going to stay or not, right?
Okay, yeah.
But if they know for sure, then it's totally up to you, and you might as well use it at least when you're reaching out to CIBC people, because then they're going to be more likely to read it.
All right, cool. Second question. Oftentimes, like the first, I guess like coffee chats or informational, discussions were fine. But when it comes to second time, for instance, after you say like, oh, blah, 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 this is my interest, you meet up with them and like say bye, and the next time you have to reach out again to say, oh, hey, I just want to follow up. How would you do that in your second follow-up?
Yeah. So first of all, you don't necessarily need to meet with them the second time. maybe it's appropriate, maybe it's not. But it
Okay.
could be as something like as simple as sending up a follow-up email to say, hey, John or whoever whatever their name is, just wanted to thank you again for taking the time to meet me back in July. I just wanted to mention that I'm starting early recruitment, and it'd be great to hear if you guys are doing that. I'd love to be involved. Or I just wanted you to know that I'm about to apply for the posting that was done at my school, and look forward to hopefully connecting with you again soon.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Good.
so it can be that simple, and it's what you're basically doing is you're jogging their memory, right? Because they meet with a lot of
Right. Yeah.
people and they have 10,000 other things going on.
Yep.
And this is just a way to remind them of who you are. If you do push for a meet, you should have something to say, right? Beyond that, which is, hey, I just wanted to update you on, what I did during my summer because I think it was really valuable. Or I don't know. You have to basically you have to have some reason for that discussion.
All right. So generally the process would be like you reach out to them, have a first good chat, and then the second follow-up would be like I've submitted my resume or like like I've already applied to this posting, right?
Pretty
Sort of like
much.
that. Okay.
Pretty much, but also remember that in most cases you're going to have to meet with more than one person from each firm, and that's really where the value is. Like rather than follow up with the same person, meet with one person, then you connect with the captain. You talk to both of them. They both like you, and now you have two people that might be talking about you, and just sort of building your credibility before applications go in. But generally, yes, that's the path I recommend.
All right. What about, say, if I want to reach out to people in sales and trading, as well as DCM and ACM, would that be like a conflict, an adverse move?
So this is
Yeah.
this is a hotly debated topic amongst people that work in the industry, and some people say you just have to pick one and go with it, and other
Yeah.
people say whatever, just go crazy. I'm of the go crazy variety. Okay, in some
Right.
case, like in my opinion, anyways, very few people get offended, and I think it's kind of ridiculous to expect someone coming out of school to know 100% what they want to do with their lives forever.
Yeah.
And so, for the most part, I think the increased odds of applying to more jobs outweigh the chance that one or two of those people might like you less because you diversified. So my only caveat to that is you should tell everyone that you love them, right? So you tell the DCM guys that you wanted to work in DCM your whole life, and you tell the ECM guys that you wanted to work in ECM your whole life.
And they just happen to be friends and, talking.
Yeah, but usually you won't have to you won't have to deal with them at the same time. Like you won't have to resolve, okay, which one do you actually like until
Right.
second round interviews. In
Okay.
first round interviews, no one's going to be looking into that. In second round, they're going to be like, hey, we can't give two offers to this guy. Like we just can't do it. And then that's when they're going to really push you.
Right.
But that's like a winner's problem, right? If you have to
Yeah.
decline one because you have two interviews with the same firm, yeah, you're doing okay.
Okay, cool. That's good.
Okay.
All right, last question. So what would you emphasize in the face-to-face coffee chat or the networking call through phone? So like I know usually we talk about like basically our background, what we're interested in, or like I guess like some industry stuff, asking about themselves. Is there anything else that you would suggest us to ask?
I really like to ask questions that are specific to the person. Like, let's say the person went, let's say the person moved from one group to another. Like they worked in, from like my history, for example, I worked in diversified for a bit, and then I worked in M&A. So asking a question like, how did
Right.
your lifestyle change, or what were the major differences when you changed groups? Like that's a really interesting question, and not many people will ask that.
Right. Yeah.
Asking someone about a specific deal that they worked on, especially if they talk about it on their LinkedIn profile, because they're
Yeah.
obviously proud of it, or what was the most interesting deal that you worked on. Questions about the culture of the firm, and again, especially if they've worked at two different firms, like if they did a summer at one place and they now full time at somewhere else,
Yeah.
asking them how the culture is different and why they picked to work at the firm that they currently work at.
Yeah.
And that question I really like because it kind of it shows strength, right? It's like you're trying to pick which firm is best for you.
Yeah.
And that's what the very best candidates are thinking. Is okay, well, I'm going to have multiple offers, so where do I want to work? And it kind of gives that, without being, a jerk about it, it's kind of putting that out there and showing you as a strong candidate.
Okay. What about like technical, for instance, like I guess like some people say like we should talk about the markets when you talk with traders. What's your view on that? Like, do you think personal is enough, or like do you think like we should talk about like how much I know, how much those kind of stuff?
I think you want to only go into that if they push for it. Like you should be learning about them and the firm and what it's like to work there. Like you should be basically doing like your due diligence on what it's like to work there.
Okay.
It shouldn't go full interview mode unless they push for it. So you should be ready to talk about technical stuff, but like I said, let them introduce it. And Roger, I know you got a lot of questions, but I'm late for the next session. So if you do have other questions,
Oh, I'm done. I'm done. Thank you.
okay, beauty, I nailed it then.
All right,
So
thanks.
anybody else with questions before I wrap up?
It's okay. You can start the new one, and I'll ask you through email after.
Okay, beauty.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. So if you do have questions, sorry, it's just running late, and I don't normally do these back to back, and this is probably a good proof of why I should do that. But if you do have other questions, feel free to shoot me an email, and I'll make sure to reply. And other than that, I look forward to talking to you guys in 2 weeks time, and go and get started with your networking. It's really important. But I will talk to you guys shortly. Cheers.